Greetings to all of you, wherever you're listening from. I am Commander Bimal Raj, a TEDx speaker, internationally certified trainer and coach, mindset mentor, and a teen and parents coach. In this podcast, The Awkward Talks, I bring you topics that are usually considered taboo or are not discussed freely, but are some of the most pivotal things that we should be talking about.
Goodbye. There is too much pressure. I can't do this anymore. I love you. I'm sorry. I hope you will understand. I'm not doing well in exams. I'm not smart like you want me to be. I lied to you. I cannot live like this. I hate engineering. 2 years away from home, at the best institute, with the best of people around me, I wasted it all. Well, these simple notes are the heaviest to hold for any parent. The last words expressing how they could not live up to the perceived expectations of their parents. If only parents knew the reality, I'm sure they would have whisked their kids away and assured them that it didn't matter. Unfortunately, everything happens in retrospect in these cases. In the last 1 week, there were 2 suicides by kids in Hyderabad. One was a 15-year-old boy living in a society just a couple of kilometers away from mine. And the second one, a 12-year-old student from the previous society that we lived in. It is one of the most devastating news for any parent to read. It's a rain check on analyzing how our children are coping with different areas of their lives. It's time to wake up. The latest NCRB data is of 2021. And it reveals that a total of 11,396 children have died by suicide in 2020, which accounts for 31 deaths per day, or approximately 1 child committing suicide every hour. See, suicide is the number 1 cause of death in young Indians, more than any infectious disease, more than any cardiac condition. In terms of numbers, it accounts for more deaths than any other cause in the age group 15 to 35. Now, Dr. Vikram Patel, who is with the Harvard Medical School's Department of Global Health and Social Medicine, says, I believe the most important reasons for suicides in young people in India today is the failed aspiration for a better future. And by a better future, I mean not only an economic future, which of course is currently looking more bleak than ever before, but also a future in which young people have the autonomy and freedom to make other kinds of choices in their life. Now, being a teenager has never been easy, but in the new millennium, in the middle of unprecedented prosperity, growing up seems to have become more trying than ever before for Indian teens. India is topping the world in teen suicides. If drugs, alcohol and firearms are the favorite reasons of self-destruction in the West, in India, it is exam stress and inability to cope with disappointments. Every 90 minutes, a teenager tries to commit suicide in India. Many of these attempts are half-hearted cries for attention, help and love. But every 6 hours, one succeeds. The overall adolescent suicide has increased 300 to 400% over the past 10 years. Now, what are the causes for these suicides? Now, suicide is something very personal and the trigger varies for each individual depending on their life experiences, circumstances, people and the environment they are surrounded by, etc. However, let me try and bucket them into few broad categories to understand the possible triggers in each one of them. Let me start with one of the most important factors, parental influence. Now, it is safe to assume that most parents have the best intention towards their children. They are aware of the struggles they faced while growing up and the regrets they now have. And now they don't want the same for their kids. Therefore, with the best intention of making sure their children have a much better future, they end up putting pressure on the kids without understanding the effect it has on them. In many cases, children end up spending every waking hour crammed with study-related activities. Everything else that they could do well, whether it is sports, music, painting, are all pushed aside. The damage this can do to a child's self-esteem is enormous. One of the leading causes of suicides is also family issues that the children face or witness. Those who have been separated from their parents, have been in a dysfunctional family, were abused in childhood, or have been brought up either in an extremely strict or a completely neglected family setup have a greater risk of suicide unless their issues are looked into in a timely and empathetic manner. Let's now look at societal influence. Studies have shown that children who have been given too much too soon grow up to be adults who have difficulty coping with life's disappointments. They tend to grow up with a distorted sense of entitlement due to the instant gratification they get used to. They end up being self-centered and self-absorbed, always getting their way. These are mental health risks because when they don't get something or face a setback, they're not able to handle it emotionally and they may feel that their entire life was a lie. Many students are sent to educational hubs like Kota in India to excel in their competitive exams. Some parents even sell their land and other assets to make this happen. This also puts a huge amount of indirect stress on the kids. To top it off, they're away from their family and friends and can lead to feelings of isolation and loneliness. And this becomes particularly difficult to handle in an unfamiliar and a very competitive environment there. Next is peer influence. Now, peer influence can manifest in various ways. There was a case when one boy who was the class topper committed suicide due to the extreme academic pressure as well as the pressure to maintain his position in class. It could be due to a relationship breakdown where the child feels that their world has come to an end and they can't see any joy in their life ahead. Many times it could be due to cyberbullying where there is no respite from anyone just because they did something stupid for once or because of some behavioral pattern they may have. Another major issue is their sexual orientation, which becomes clearer as they grow into their teenage years. Now, due to the social stigma attached to it, it is very tough to accept it and then to communicate with family, friends and classmates. The young person is under tremendous strain because most parents and family members do not understand their sexual orientation. Another reason could be substance abuse and alcohol abuse, which can also contribute to student suicides. Substance abuse can lead to mental health problems, financial difficulties, and even legal issues, all of which can be very overwhelming for students. Next is the most important one, the underdeveloped brain of a teenager. Now, this is one of the most important pieces of information that parents need to be aware of. Brain scans of adolescents show that the area of the brain called the prefrontal cortex that regulates the most important functions like impulse control, logical decision making, etc. It only starts developing by age 12 and gets fully developed only by age 21 or 22. Now, what does this mean? This means that these children are driven by their limbic brain, which is also called the seat of emotions. This means that they are subjected to all kinds of raw emotions like fear, anxiety, rage, etc. And they are neurologically incapable of controlling or even regulating it due to the absence of a developed prefrontal cortex. This means that their actions are impulsive, based on strong emotions and not based on logic. Now, along with this, the raging hormones don't let them understand the consequence of their actions. They don't think about being dead or how it might impact the others. For them, it's just a way of ending pain and solving a problem. Now, there could be many more reasons for suicide, but for us who are alive, the most important part of this topic is how to identify if there are suicidal tendencies with your kids, friends, or family members. Remember that suicidal tendencies don't appear out of the blue. People usually display a number of warning signs when things seem so wrong in their life that they've simply given up hope. Unfortunately, adolescence itself is a turbulent time. Therefore, it may be difficult to distinguish the signs that lead to suicide from the changing and sometimes uncertain behavior of teens. Therefore, you as a parent, family member, or a friend need to look out for these changes in their behavior. withdrawal from family and peers, sudden loss of interest in previously enjoyable activities like going out, participating in games, etc. Difficulty concentrating on schoolwork or a general disdain for it. Not interested at all in their personal appearance. You see a sudden and obvious changes in personality. Could be becoming aloof suddenly or even becoming suddenly cheerful after being aloof for quite some time. Sadness and hopelessness and talk of gloom and doom of life in general. Major changes in eating patterns such as sudden weight loss or gain. Changes in sleep patterns like not being able to sleep or wanting to sleep all the time. General lethargy or lack of energy and no interest in anything that others suggest. Becoming violent or even being rebellious. Regular drug and alcohol use. Not accepting or even reacting badly to any kind of praise or appreciation. Cracking jokes about death and suicide, etc. Cryptic posts on social media suggesting feelings of isolation or depression. Now, some other warning signs that need immediate attention are: someone says, "I want to kill myself" or "I'm going to commit suicide." Gives verbal hints like, "I won't be a problem much longer," or "If anything happens to me, I want you to know," etc. etc. Gives away favorite positions or throws away important belongings. Expresses weird thoughts like life after death constantly. Now, what can be done to prevent these suicides? One thing that I found to be quite heartening is that while I was doing research for this podcast, every time my search word had the word suicide in it, the very first link that came right on top was "Help is available" in big bold letters with a phone number listed below it. I'm quite sure that anyone who calls that number will not go through with suicide, because most times suicide is an impulsive decision, and if they can do something to let that moment pass, they would be able to continue moving forward in life. Now, what else can be done? First, have improved mental health services. Now, scholars have long linked farmer suicides to India's agrarian crisis, and it is time that civil society starts looking at student suicides as an indicator of a grave crisis of the country's educational structure. Every school and educational institution must provide students with access to mental health services and resources like counseling services, support groups, and psychiatric services that can help prevent suicides. Embracing positive attitude towards mental health. It is high time that all of us treat mental health just like physical health. There should be no stigma attached to going to a psychologist or a psychiatrist, and should be considered similar to going to a physician. Such positive attitudes towards mental health and help seeking will lead to more open discussions about mental health and suicide. Next, focus on overall personality development. By taking a holistic approach to personality development, educational institutions can create a supportive and inclusive environment which can help students thrive both academically and emotionally, and it can play a critical role in preventing suicides. I did speak about their underdeveloped brains that are driven by emotions and not logic. Unfortunately, the current education system only focuses on developing children's IQ and memory, but don't give any importance to their EQ, which is the most important during these years. Encourage participation in sports. Now, sports can play an important role in preventing suicides by providing a positive outlet for stress and emotions, and it can also increase self-esteem and confidence. Have stricter cyberbullying policies. Implementing stricter cyberbullying policies and cracking down on online harassment can really help reduce the risk of student suicides. Have substance abuse prevention programs. Educating students about dangers of substance abuse and also providing support for those struggling with addiction without any judgment can really help those who are addicted to bounce back in life. Now, build positive relationships. Children, especially teens, should have a close circle of friends with whom they can share everything. They ideally should also have one other adult besides their parent whom they can really count on to share things that they can't really share with their parents to get an adult perspective. Most important, family support. Families should be educated about how to support their children, especially when they are going through a struggling phase. Parents have the biggest impact on their children, and instead of brushing their concerns aside, they should create an environment at home where the kids can express freely without fear. Now, our government has multiple initiatives to help prevent suicides. In case you feel that someone in your family is showing symptoms that I mentioned, please make sure that you reach out to them. When it comes to suicides, extra caution is always better. You can find how to reach out just with a simple Google search. First, the National Mental Health Program. Now, to address the issue of mental health and prevent suicides, the Government of India introduced the National Mental Health Policy in 2014. The goal of the policy is to raise awareness of mental health issues and also improve mental health services. Next, National Suicide Prevention Strategy. The National Suicide Prevention Hotline was established by the Indian government in 2018, and it offers round-the-clock emotional support to those who are having suicidal thoughts. Next, the Mental Health Care Act. It was approved in 2017 to establish a legislative structure for the nation's promotion and defense of mental health. The Act has provisions relating to the advancement of mental health services and the prevention of suicide. Next is Youth Red Cross. Now, this is a non-profit group that collaborates with the government to stop teen suicides. The group supports those who are dealing with mental health problems and also raises awareness about preventing suicides. Next, Kiran. The Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment has launched a 24/7 toll-free helpline called Kiran, and it provides support to people facing anxiety, stress, depression, suicidal thoughts, and other mental health concerns. Next, Mano Darpan Initiative. Now, Mano Darpan is an initiative of the Ministry of Education under Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan. It is aimed to provide psychosocial support to students, family members, and teachers for their mental health and well-being during the times of COVID-19 and beyond. Now, what can you do as an individual to help these people whom you may not even know? I shared a podcast on Glimmer. Do listen to it if you haven't. Make your kids or your friends become glimmer hunters. This will really help them get into the habit of looking for glimmers instead of triggers, and they will be able to see the world in a different light. And when they manage to do that, their general outlook towards life will change completely. You know, one actual suicide note read, "I'm going to jump off the Golden Gate Bridge today. If one person smiles at me today, I will stop and turn around." Unfortunately, no one did. So when you see someone in front of you, give a big smile to them. It costs you nothing. Be the glimmer for them. It would make someone's day for sure, but it just might save someone's life as well.
If you are a parent, I beg you, please be the glimmer and not the trigger for your kids. Spend time with them instead of giving money to compensate. Talk to them when there is a suicide and listen to their views without judgment. Don't ever give lectures about how much you are doing for them or how they're wasting your money. They are just kids. All they need is your love and care, and to know that you love them for who they are and not for what they do or accomplish. Trust me, it really doesn't matter. The world is changing at a pace that you can't even comprehend. There is no way you'll be able to prepare them academically for something in the future that doesn't even exist today. But your love and belief in them will make them confident adults with a high self-esteem, and they will be able to adapt to future scenarios. Focus on your relationship with them and not on their grades and marks. Remember that young people these days romanticize death and suicide, and some even consider those kids to be brave to take that step. Build your bond with your child in such a way that they would choose to come and cry on your shoulder instead of leaving a cold note on their desk. Now, please do rate this podcast if this episode made sense to you. Do share this with as many people as you know. You never know. You just might save someone's life. Do click the follow button so that you don't miss any of our episodes. This is Commander Bimal Raj, and I will be back with another awkward talk very soon.